Exposed. My son sold our $4 million ranch, gave me only $15,000, a heartwarming journey to life change. Mary stood knee-deep in the same sun-kissed fields that cradled her dreams. The ranch, her family's legacy for generations, was more than land. It was her heartbeat, her home. When word spread that her son Jake had sold their sprawling haven for a mere fraction of what it was worth, it gutted her. $4 million turned to $15,000 in an instant, and with that theft, the whispers began, sharp, judgmental breaths in her small rural community. She felt their pity, their curiosity creep into her chest like a stone. Wasn't it enough? Didn't I give him everything? She felt the weight of her failures pressing down with every sun-soaked day. How could the boys she raised, who learned from her the value of hard work, sacrifice, and loyalty, betray her like this? But the reality of it sank in harder than any enemy she faced in combat. The very foundation of her identity began to crumble like the dry Texas soil underfoot. Mary threw herself into the local community center, a bustling hub filled with laughter, meals, and camaraderie. She figured helping others might take her mind off her shattered dreams. There, among new friends, she rediscovered warmth. A woman named Carla wrapped her arms around her during a potluck, whispering, "You're not alone, Mary." It struck her, igniting a flicker of hope. But as light began to peek through her heavy heart, shadows loomed larger. Town gossip buzzed. How could she let this happen? Mary's shoulders tightened under the scrutiny, the unasked questions hanging thick in the air. Each glance felt like a dagger, poking deeper at the wounds Jake's actions had inflicted. In the forgotten corners of her heart, Mary longed for Jake. He was still her boy, a son wrapped tightly in confusion and ambition. The ranch, which had been their everything, now belonged to others. When she finally found the courage to face him, her heart raced with uncertainty. Standing in front of what was once their sanctuary, she saw new owners taming the wild land, its essence reshaped. Jake stood there too, lost, perhaps more than she was. Words spilled like a broken dam between them. Emotions molded by anger and sadness colored their conversation. "I needed to find my own way, Mom," Jake's voice cracked. "You wanted it so bad for me that I felt trapped." His hurt reverberated through Mary as though it were happening inside her own chest. For a moment, silence swallowed them whole, both grasping for air and understanding. Mary yearned to scream, "I love you, come back to me," but fear of showing weakness rooted her in place. All she could muster was, "What does our family truly mean to you?" Before Jake could respond, the palpable tension hung heavy between them, two hearts yearning for connection, yet burdened by their different visions of love and success. As they stood there, staring at the ghosts of memories echoing in the wind, the possibility slipped just out of reach. A painful truth lingered like the Texas heat, heating the air around them, leaving both wondering if paths could indeed cross once more. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the stakes of their emotional battle rose, Mary could feel her heart flutter. Hope, desperation, a yearning for tomorrow, all intermingled in a whirlwind of uncertainty, awaiting Jake's answer. Would it breathe life into their fractured bond, or would it echo louder, leaving them even more lost than before? The air between them crackled with a tension so thick it seemed to vibrate. Mary could feel the heat of the sun that had once warmed the very ground beneath their feet, now casting shadows over her heart. Jake's eyes were clouded, a mixture of defiance and sorrow swirling beneath the surface, begging to be understood. Taking a deep breath, Mary fought the urge to retreat into her fears. "I don't want to lose you, Jake. Not like this." Her voice trembled, the vulnerability spilling from her lips like fragile glass. Jake looked away, scuffing his boot on the dirt. "You didn't lose me, Mom. I chose something different." His eyes darted back to her, flickering with an anger that was now laced with doubt. "But I didn't mean to hurt you." A small part of her softened. The boy still lingered in this man who had tried to carve out his own identity. "I just don't understand. Why would you sell everything? Our family? Our history? Didn't those mean anything to you?" "It's not what I thought it was," Jake burst out, his fists clenching around unmet expectations. "You wanted me to take over, to follow in your footsteps. But what if that's not who I am? I felt suffocated, like I was living someone else's life." Mary's heart sank, each word a weight pressing into her chest. The life she envisioned for him was built on love and ambition, not chains. But it was our life. It was supposed to be a choice we made together. Silence enveloped them again, tethering them in a heavy, painfully shared space filled with unexpressed regrets and unrealized dreams. The winds rustled the tall grass around them, a swirling dance of memories and loss. Mary could still hear the echoes of laughter shared around campfires and the quiet comfort of evenings spent watching the sun slip behind the horizon. Were we ever really together in this? She finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jake's gaze fell to the ground again, as though seeking answers in the dirt. "Maybe I just never felt like I belonged. It's hard for me to express everything. I felt more trapped here than free." Mary swallowed hard, fighting back tears. How could she let him see the depth of her pain without shattering him further? She stepped closer, an instinct urging her to reach for him, to reignite that flickering bond. "Let me hold your heart instead of this anger. I want to understand. I'm still your mom, Jake. The ranch was not just business. It had love in every nook and cranny." His flinty expression softened, but was quickly overshadowed by self-doubt. "Maybe I'm just not cut out for all that. Maybe I'm not the son you wanted." "No." The word came harshly, laced with both frustration and fear. "You are my son, and that is enough. Please don't reject what we have over what was lost." The wind picked up, brushing against their cheeks, carrying the scent of earth and fleeting memories. Jake looked at her, his brow furrowed, wrestling with the weight of yearning and disappointment. "I want to try, Mom. I just don't know how," he admitted, the honesty flooding between them, raw and fragile. Mary's heart soared. "We'll learn together, one step at a time. Just don't shut me out." As she spoke, she felt a stir of hope, tentative and nascent, but there nonetheless. Could this be the beginning of mending what had been broken? But before they could navigate this fragile moment, a voice interrupted, breaking their connection like a mirror shattering upon the ground. "Mary, there's someone here who says they know Jake." It was Carla, panic lining her voice. Mary exchanged a quick glance with Jake, both of them stricken with equal parts curiosity and dread. What truth was about to emerge, and would it pull them apart further or bridge the chasm already between them? Carla took a few steps closer, her eyes brimming with urgency. "You need to come inside. This is serious. I think you both should hear what whoever it is has to say." Mary felt a wave of anxiety wash over her, pooling at her feet like cold water. The tension from their earlier conversation clung to the air, thickening with each second that ticked by. She turned to Jake, searching for reassurance in his eyes, but the uncertainty still lingered within him. "Let's go," Mary said, trying to summon strength she wasn't sure she felt. They followed Carla back toward the ranch house, the familiar surroundings now feeling foreign, as if they were stepping into another reality. Inside, the living room felt suffocating, packed with unsaid words and clashing emotions. A stranger stood there, a man about her age, weathered but with lively eyes that seemed to hold secrets. He straightened up as they entered, his gaze landing first on Jake, then shifting to Mary.
"I'm sorry for barging in," he began, running a hand through his tousled hair. "My name is Mark. I used to work here. Years ago, when you were still a kid, Jake." Jake's face paled, confusion knitting his brow. "I don't remember you." Mark nodded, his expression sympathetic. "That's fair. I left before you were old enough to really know me. But I have something important to discuss. It's about the ranch and some decisions that have been made." Mary's heart raced. Why did it feel like every word was laced with a judgment about her family's past? "Look," Mark continued, his voice firm but gentle. "You need to understand the situation your mother's in, Jake. When you sold the ranch, it shook so many lives, not just yours and Mary's. You were not just walking away from a property, you were parting with the legacy that took generations to build." Jake's fists clenched, a flicker of rage sparking in his eyes. "I didn't know it would hurt anyone. I thought it was mine to decide." "I get that, believe me, but there's more at stake," Mark pressed, his voice calming. "The community has its roots here, but there are also people looking for revenge, wanting their share of what they feel is owed to them. Your decision, your mother's decision, sent ripples that could become waves, and now they're coming back." Mary felt her heartbeat quicken, dread filling the void she had tried so hard to conquer just moments ago. She glanced at Jake, whose face had turned ashen. "What do you mean, revenge?" he asked, panic threading through his voice. "Someone's bound to come looking for you, for her. People don't let go of old ties easily, especially if they think they've been wronged." Mary's thoughts raced in circles. Could everything truly unravel like this? Were her and Jake's attempts at understanding already too late? She stepped forward, wanting to shield Jake from further pain, her protective instinct surging. "What does this mean for us, Mark? What can we do?" Mark shook his head slowly. "Running isn't an option. You must confront this together. If you care about each other, and I believe you do, you need to stand firm and face whatever comes." The weight of his words stirred something deep within Mary, both fear and an unyielding spark of resilience. She turned to Jake, their eyes locking. This time, the bond felt different, strongly tethered in shared warfare against what loomed ahead. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," she vowed, the tremble in her voice now bolstered by determination. Jake nodded slowly, his defiance mellowing into a steely resolve. Right, together. The air thick with new electricity, they felt the undeniable truth settle in. There was a battle ahead, and they were ready to fight side by side. But as the distant sound of thunder rumbled, heralding a storm that would soon sweep over the land, they both trembled at the unfolding struggle of what they would need to confront. Was this the moment they would finally shatter their past and build something new? Or would the storm break them beyond repair? Mary felt the weight of the room pressing down on her, every eye trained on her and Jake. The tension was palpable, charged like the air before a thunderstorm. She could feel a battle brewing within her, fear huddled close to frustration, bubbling just beneath the surface. "Mark, what exactly are we facing?" she pressed, her voice steady despite the chaos in her mind. She needed answers, and she could sense the urgency coursing through Jake beside her. Mark ran his hand through his hair again, a nervous tick. "I don't know all the details, but I heard whispers, people talking about how your family abandoned the land, how it's a betrayal to the community. They might feel like they're owed something, owed revenge for what they think you took from them." Jake's jaw tightened, a flicker of anger flashing in his eyes.
I didn't take anything. I did what I thought was best for us. Best for you, Mark countered. But this isn't just about you. This is bigger. Families have deep ties to this ranch, and with those ties come loyalties and grudges. People don't forget. The room quieted, the only sound the low rumble of thunder outside. Mary felt a shiver run down her spine. What do we need to do? Her heart raced as if it could outrun the storm gathering outside. Mark looked at both of them, searching their faces for resolve. You'll have to talk to the community, face them, explain your side, and hopefully quell their anger before it spirals, but you need to do it together. Mary could feel Jake's clammy hand grasping hers tightly, an anchor in the turbulence around them. Together, she echoed, grounding herself in the single word. Just then, the front door swung open as a gust of wind rushed in, sending a chill through the room. The sky outside darkened, illuminating the worried faces of neighbors gathering at the property's edge. They had come. Mary exchanged a glance with Jake, his face hardened with determination mixed with dread. She could sense his worry for her safety, but her own courage surged. No more hiding, Jake. We can't run. We have to show them we're here to stay. He nodded, eyes blazing with newfound conviction. You're right. Mark leaned against the wall, arms crossed, a silent witness to the emotions swirling like the storm outside. This is important. Speak from the heart. Let them see the truth of what you both stand for, your commitment to each other and to this land. At that moment, the first crack of lightning forked through the sky, brightening the dim living room briefly before darkness settled in again. Fear mixed with awe nestled deep within Mary. The thunder that followed felt like a warning, setting her heart racing faster than before. As the storm intensified, they stepped closer to the door, anxiety brewing. She could see the silhouettes of figures gathering outside, some familiar, but filled with uncertainty. This was it. The moment of truth was at hand. Just then, another bolt of lightning illuminated the figures, and she caught sight of familiar faces, filled with a mix of concern and anger. Would they ever understand? Open the door, Jake, Mary urged, a plea rising within her. We need to face this. Jake's face betrayed both fear and resolve as he reached for the doorknob. For us, for them. And as he pulled open the door, the storm broke loose, the wind howling with its own ferocity. Would this confrontation bring unity, or would it sweep everything they held dear away? The clouds churned ominously above them, each gust of wind a reminder that the real storm was just beginning. The door swung open, and an icy gust poured in, whipping around Mary and Jake. The faces outside, once obscured by darkness, came into sharp focus in the flashes of lightning. Friends, neighbors, and a few who had their arms crossed in disbelief. Looks like it's time for some truths, Mary whispered, her heart pounding against her ribs. Standing at the entrance, lightning illuminating their apprehensive faces, she felt both exposed and defiant. The first few raindrops splattered on the porch, the sound sharp and electric against the backdrop of thunder rumbling like a drum roll preparing for a show. Amidst the crowd, she spotted Mrs. Daniels, the school teacher who had once praised her for a science fair project. Now, the warmth in her gaze was replaced by suspicion and hurt. Beside her stood Tom, a longtime friend of Jake's, his expression unreadable. She struggled to reconcile these familiar faces with the anger and resentment she sensed simmering beneath the surface. "We're here," Jake called out, his voice breaking through the storm's roar. It seemed he willed the community to see him as more than just a boy running away from their legacy. "We want to talk. We wanted you to hear us out." As calm washed over him, Mary felt strength coursing through their entwined hands. The swell of the wind felt like a call to courage. He stepped forward, pulling Mary with him closer to the threshold of their old life. "Look, I get that many of you are angry at us, Jake started, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. But it wasn't like I had a choice. My family, our family, needed a way out. We can't watch this place wither away when we have a chance to make something better. Mary's heart swelled at his words. There was conviction there, a truth she had quietly hoped he would find. We came back to make things right, not to erase what we left behind, she added, her voice louder now, filled with defiance and purpose. This ranch isn't just soil or fences. It's memories. It's a community. The wind howled in response, like an echo of their shared history, the laughter at family barbecues, the tears at hard goodbyes. Their neighbors stood contemplating, the storm between them gathering strength. Mary? It was Tom stepping forward now, his tone softer. You lived here, raised here. Why didn't you fight for this place? Why did you walk away? I wanted to fight, Mary shot back, desperation rising in her chest. But when it came down to it, we thought it would be better to put it behind us than let it ruin us. We chose survival over loyalty, and then we realized maybe we were wrong all along. The crowd shifted, murmurs fluttered through the damp air, uncertainty reigniting the bonds they once shared. Lightning cracked overhead, and the storm seemed to pause for a breath, as if waiting for what was next. Together, Jake whispered, squeezing her hand tighter, grounding her once more. Let's show them we're committed, to each other and to this place. He stepped forward a few paces, and she followed, determination heating her blood. In that moment, it was neither just about them nor the ranch. It was about reviving the trust and spirit of a community that had weathered storms together before. But as they stood before their neighbors, another rumble of thunder grumbled ominously. The blend of their words and the storm's fury created an atmosphere ripe with possibility and fear. As the wind howled around them, Mary hoped the words they shared would bridge the chasm their absence had created. Before this storm settles, Mary called out, her voice shaking slightly but filled with hope, can we discuss how we rebuild together? The community looked amongst themselves, emotions flickering, interest, anger, contemplation. Would they find it in their hearts to forgive and rebuild? Mary could feel something shifting, but the storm still raged on. The decision hung in the air, thick and charged. What would they do? Would they rally together as a family and community, or turn their backs once more? The thunder answered, booming, as if to remind them that this was just the beginning. The storm seemed to pause, and for a brief moment, an eerie silence settled over the gathering. Mary scanned the faces around her. She could see tension in the furrowed brows and clenched fists. They were standing at a crossroads, awaiting a choice that could alter the course of their lives. Tom shifted uneasily. What exactly do you want from us? He asked, voice firm but edged with curiosity. You left. You both could have stayed and fought. Jake looked at Mary, a silent exchange of strength. He took a deep breath before addressing Tom directly. We're asking for a second chance. We're ready to invest our hearts and hands into this ranch again, not just as a property, but a home. And we want to do that alongside you. The wind howled, and thicker raindrops began to splatter down in earnest, soaking the wooden boards at their feet. But inside, a fire sparked within Mary's chest. We know it'll take time to earn your trust back, but we believe in this place. We believe in all of you. We're sorry for our absence, but we're here to fight now, together. Mrs. Daniels finally stepped forward, her features softening but still hesitant. It's not just about the ranch, Mary. You have to understand the pain your leaving caused us. We were left to pick up the pieces. The air thickened with grief, emotion spilling over. Mary's heart pounded in her chest, feeling the weight of that truth. We left for all the wrong reasons. We thought we were protecting ourselves, but it's clear now that our absence hurt more than any confrontation would have. A flash of lightning streaked the sky, and with it, something shifted in the crowd. A moment of solidarity flickered amongst them. Tom's expression softened as he shifted his feet, the tension loosening. "Maybe we should listen, see where they want to take this," he said, glancing back at the others. Yet just as a flicker of hope glinted in Mary's heart, the sky boomed, and in an instant the churning clouds unleashed their full fury. The rain poured down in heavy sheets, drenching everyone on the porch. Jake instinctively pulled Mary closer, but she felt a rush of adrenaline, a willingness to ride out the storm, whatever it might bring. "Let's move inside," someone shouted from the crowd, urging others forward, and like a wave, they shifted. As they all retreated into the house, Mary's pulse raced. Could they really open their hearts? Could they knit the torn fabric of their community back together? Would forgiveness blossom here amidst soaked clothing and tender truths? Inside, they found refuge from the storm, the flickering lights casting shadows on their faces. The warmth of the home enveloped her, yet the atmosphere buzzed with unanswered questions. "We can start with the barn, a community project," Mary suggested, steadiness returning to her voice. "It's a place we all care about. Together, we can bring it back to life. It could be a start." "Can we make this a community venture?" Jake added, glancing around. "Invite everyone to pitch in. We need ideas, skills, and labor. But more than that, we need your support." The murmurs rose and fell like the rain outside. Hesitation danced in the air, hanging like the humidity that wrapped around them. No one spoke, but dozens of eyes settled on Mary and Jake. Suddenly, an older gentleman, Mr. Clark, broke through the wary silence. "You two say you want to rebuild," he said, his voice gravelly but steady. "But rebuilding is more than putting together broken pieces." He paused, looking at the group, measuring their responses. "You'll need courage, patience, and love. Are you ready for that?" "Yes," they both exclaimed, hearts aligned. As the storm raged on outside, the smell of wet earth filling the air, the first foundations of a new bond began to take root. That dimly lit room. Outside, the rain beat down like a drum roll of uncertainty, but inside, there was a flicker of something more, perhaps hope. The air crackled with potential. What will it take for all of us to come together? "What's the first step we need to take?" Mary asked, her voice steady as the storm outside began to wane. All eyes were on them, a blend of suspicion and curiosity. And as the cracks in the foundation of their past began to show, they collectively stood at an intersection of possibility. What would their next move be? Would they take that leap together, or would the storm on the horizon tear them apart once more? The sound of rain pounding against the roof created a rhythm that echoed the racing hearts of everyone in the room. Mary felt the palpable tension merge with something softer, an almost fragile hope that held each person captive. As the storm's fury seemed to swirl around them, she searched faces for signs of acceptance, battling her own fears. Would they truly trust her and Jake again? Mr. Clark cleared his throat, breaking the moment of silence. "Your idea about the barn," he began slowly, "it's a good start, but we all carry the weight of what happened. It won't be easy." Jake nodded in agreement. "We understand that. We're ready for the hard work. We want to carve a new path, but we can't do it alone. It starts with all of you." A low murmur traveled through the crowd, as if they were weighing his words, measuring the depth of the sincerity they could sense coming from the two of them. Mary could see the gears turning in their minds, and a blend of fear and determination danced across the room. "Maybe we could hold a meeting, open up dialogue," someone said, a voice cutting through the low hum. It was Lisa, the youngest farmer in the community. "If we put our thoughts together, we might see what we truly need to do next." "How do we know you won't just up and leave again?" Tom interjected, brows knitted tightly with still simmering anger. Mary inhaled deeply, feeling the heaviness of his words. "You don't," she admitted softly. But we can't go back to how it was before. We need to honor that hurt and move forward together. A few heads nodded in hesitant agreement. Mrs. Daniels spoke again, her tone more conciliatory this time. How can we trust you'll be here to stay? What guarantees do we have? Trust, Jake began, his voice steady. Trust is built piece by piece. If we work side by side, if our feet tread the same soil, maybe then we can begin to repair what's broken. In the dim light, Mary saw vulnerability reflected in their expressions. It was as if they were standing on the edge of a cliff, daring to look down into the depths of what had transpired, but also feeling the rush of possibility.
Possibility from the winds of change. Anyone can say words, Mr. Clark continued softly, but actions will always speak louder. If you're willing to show us you mean it. Mary stepped forward, her heart pounding. We will show you. One day at a time, we'll prove it. The air shifted. The rain began to lighten, each drop now a gentle reminder of renewal. Before the conversation could cycle back to fear, Lisa offered an idea. Let's do a cleanup day at the barn. It's something we can start right away. Get hands dirty, mind working together. The spark of energy ignited their spirits. Yes, let's do it, someone cheered, and the room erupted into enthusiasm. Laughter broke the tension, and hearts began to lift. Mary and Jake shared a triumphant glance, relief washing over them. This was a step, small yet significant. It was a beginning. As plans were being laid out, moments passed, questions exchanged about tools and labor. The storm seemed to taper off, yielding to the promise of sunshine. But just as the atmosphere lightened, Mary felt unease creeping back in. They were eager now, but would they still be in the morning light? Would this fragile sense of community hold through the challenges that lay ahead? Let's set a date for the cleanup, Jake said, rallying everyone. We'll start fresh, together. As excitement buzzed, Mary caught the fleeting glance of Mr. Clark. His eyes held nothing but wisdom and depth, and for a moment she wondered what other storms he had weathered in his lifetime. But one thing was clear. This was only the beginning of their journey. A larger storm lurked beyond the horizon, threats unseen yet brewing, eager to test their resolve. Would they prove strong enough to face it together? Or would it scatter them once more, back into the shadows of their past? Questions hung in the air like the soaked clouds, dense and full of uncertainty. Mary woke up early, the sun filtering in through the window with a gentle warmth that promised a new day. Today was the cleanup day at the barn. It should have felt like a fresh start, but doubt trickled in like the remnants of last night's storm that still clung to the edges of her mind. As she dressed, she replayed the conversations from last night, each word echoing, each face searching for hope. She shook her head, trying to dispel the nagging worry. They had committed to rebuilding trust, but would it truly hold? In no time, the community gathered in front of the barn, armed with shovels, rakes, and determination. The air was crisp, filled with laughter and chatter as old friends reunited and shared stories, while others exchanged glances, still cautious. All right, everyone, let's turn this place around, Jake called out, his voice infused with enthusiasm. There was something about his energy that ignited a spark within the crowd. Mary felt it too, excitement mixed with apprehension. They were all in this together, but togetherness felt. As they worked, Mary caught sight of Lisa. The young farmer had taken to the task with zeal, swinging a rake as if dancing to the music of a new beginning. It was inspiring. Mary couldn't help but smile. Maybe this community was ready to embrace change after all. But just as she immersed herself in the task, she noticed Tom standing off to the side. His brows were still furrowed, arms crossed tightly against his chest. The contrast between his stillness and the bustling energy around him caught her attention.
"Hey, Tom," she called, pausing her work to stride toward him. "Don't you want to join in?" He looked at her, eyes serious. I don't know if this is enough. Cleaning up the barn won't fix everything." His honesty cut deep, and Mary felt an ache in her heart. "You're right. It's just a start. It won't erase the past, but we have to try, for all of us." He shifted slightly, contemplating her words. What if this doesn't work? What if it all falls apart again? Mary took a deep breath. "Then we try again. This isn't just about fixing a barn. It's about rebuilding what was lost, one step at a time, remember?" Tom let out a short laugh, his tension easing just a bit. "You sure sound optimistic." "I have to be," she replied, a fire of determination growing within her. "If I don't believe we can make this right, who will?" The two of them fell into a more comfortable silence, and slowly Tom started to join in with the activity around him, his movements uncertain but willing. Moments later, Jake caught sight of them and beamed with approval. "That's the spirit, Tom. Let's show this barn who's boss." Mary felt her heart lift as she returned to work, the doubts slowly fading. They were more than just workers today. They were a community. As the hours passed, laughter filled the warm air, and she soaked in the beauty of teamwork, each sweat-soaked brow a testimony to their efforts. Yet, lurking in the corners of her mind was a whisper of fear. What would happen as they moved beyond this day? Would the fragile bonds hold when true troubles emerged? At last, as the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over their efforts, the barn started to transform. Mary stepped back, taking in the scene. A glimpse of hope, a promise forged in earth and sweat, where once there was anger and disillusionment. But just then, the sound of a car pulling up broke through her revelry. Mary turned to see a sleek vehicle parked in front of the barn, a stark contrast to the hard-working spirit emanating from her friends. "Who's that?" someone murmured, the energy shifting to curiosity and concern as all eyes turned toward the newcomer. In that moment, Mary's heart raced again. What could this unexpected visitor want? Had they truly begun to rebuild, only to have it threatened? Once more? The newcomer stepped out of the car, and the world around Mary seemed to freeze. The man was tall, with a sharp suit that didn't quite fit into the rural scenery. Every stride he took felt deliberate, calculated, as if stepping into a boardroom rather than a barn. "What does he want?" Tom whispered, now standing beside Mary, the uncertainty creeping back into his expression. "I don't know," Mary replied, an unsettling feeling crawling up her spine. The laughter and chatter of the day faded, replaced by lashes of apprehension as the crowd shifted restlessly. "Good afternoon," the man called out, adjusting his tie as if readying for a business proposition. "I'm Tony Hargrove. I'm here to discuss the land." His voice was smooth, but carried an edge that put everyone on alert. "What business do you have with us?" Jake stepped forward, his posture tight, protective. Tony smiled, but it felt calculated. "I represent a group interested in buying this property," he said, glancing around as if assessing the value of their hard work. "We believe it can be more than just a barn. It can be a resort, a destination." The air in the barn thickened. Mary felt her heart race, a mixture of fury and disbelief swelling in her chest. "This land has been a home to us. We're building something here," she said, her voice steady, even as emotion churned beneath. "A home?" Tony scoffed lightly. "You mean a relic. This place has potential, and you're wasting it." The truth of his words struck a chord, but the insult was unbearable. Just hours earlier, they had begun to reclaim their future, and now this man was here to scoop it away. "Why should we sell to you?" Tom took a step forward. "We're all working together to make this place a home again." "Because," Tony said coolly, You might not have as much time as you think. You're trying to fix something that's already broken. Soon enough, you'll be faced with decisions that will change everything. Why not let us take the burden from your shoulders?" Mary's pulse quickened. "We're not looking for an easy way out. We're learning to stand together again." "A noble sentiment," Tony replied, his eyes glinting with something Mary couldn't read. "But sentiment doesn't pay the bills. Why struggle when you can thrive?" Tom shot a glance at her, uncertainty flaring between them. Would they fold under the weight of his proposal, or continue to fight for their home? "Think about it," Tony continued, more insistent now. "The money is life-changing. You could start fresh somewhere. Consider this a new beginning." Mary felt a pang of vulnerability. The promise of change tugged at her heart. Each word was like a spell, weaving pictures of escape, freedom from the burdens they carried. But what would that freedom cost? "I won't sell," she finally asserted, drawing in a deep breath to quell her internal storm. "This is our home, and we are not going anywhere." A murmur of agreement rose from the group, creating a protective barrier around her words. Yet the flicker of doubt lingered within her. "Willingness to fight is commendable, but remember this conversation," Tony said, his voice losing its friendly tone. "Things could get complicated. Don't fool yourselves into thinking everyone will have your back when it counts. I'll be back." With that, he turned on his heel and strode back to his car, the engine roaring to life. Mary stood there, feeling the weight of the moment settle like a heavy cloak. They had faced many challenges, but now a new specter loomed. As the car disappeared from sight, the sense of community, once tangible, felt fragile again. Doubts invaded her thoughts. Had they really begun to rebuild, or was it just an illusion? "Are we really ready for this?" Tom asked softly, his brow furrowed with concern. Mary looked over the barn, her heart heavy but her spirit ignited. "We need to be," she stated firmly, determination rising. "Together, we can't let this break us." But as they gathered back to the barn, a whisper in the wind sent a shiver down her spine. What would happen when Tony returned? Would they still stand strong, or would cracks begin to show? The future loomed ahead, dark and uncertain, and the fight had only just begun. Days turned into weeks, and the barn cleanup became a symbol of resilience for the community. Mary watched as neighbors came together, slowly forging bonds that once thrived before her absence. Laughter mixed with the sound of tools clinking against wood, a melody of hope that tinged the air with warmth. Each swing of the hammer, each brush against the old barn walls, whispered tales of new beginnings. Yet the shadow of uncertainty still lingered. Every time Mary closed her eyes, she could see Tony's face, the way he casually dismissed their dreams, his words haunting her. "You'll regret this." That was what he had said. And now every creak of the barn felt like a ticking clock reminding her of the pressure they faced. On a particularly bright Sunday, the community gathered for a potluck, filling the barn with an earthy aroma of baked goods and grilled meats. Mary glanced around, her heart swelling with gratitude. People exchanged stories from their childhood, laughter erupting like firecrackers, illuminating the walls that now resonated with renewed joy. "Listen up," Jake called out, his strong voice cutting through the clanging of forks and clattering of plates. He stood on a makeshift stage, a sturdy table covered in a checkered cloth. "I know we've faced a lot lately, but look around." He gestured to the smiling faces, to the hard work represented in every corner of the barn. "This is our home, and together we can make it even better." Mary felt the electric buzz of excitement ripple through the crowd. Her son, the boy who had once felt trapped, now stood before them, embodying their shared commitment. He was a bridge between past mistakes and future possibilities. Tom stepped forward, a spark in his eye. We need to support each other, not just for ourselves, but for our families, for everyone who's ever felt like they had to leave. Let's keep pushing for what we believe. The crowd erupted into cheers, the sound vibrating through the wooden beams above them. Mary's heart swelled, but she felt a whisper of doubt as she looked at each face. Would they really hold fast against what lay ahead? Would they rally when the storms returned? Just as the atmosphere lightened, the church bell tolled, slicing through the joy. Mary felt a chill creep in. The familiar sound echoed in the corners of her mind, bringing forth not just memories, but also fears. It had happened again. Tony. He was back. "Stay strong," Mary whispered to Jake, who nodded tightly, determination etched across his face. Together, they pushed through the crowd towards the front door, exiting the warmth of fellowship into the uncertain world outside. Tony's car was parked closer this time, the glassy surface reflecting the angry skies, a dark omen. "Good to see you again, Mary, Jake," he greeted with a tight smile. "I hope your sweet little barn project is going well, but," his gaze hardened, "I didn't expect to see you clinging to illusions." Mary felt her resolve waver at his words. "This isn't an illusion, Tony. This is our home. We built it together, and we'll keep fighting for it." He chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. "You think feeling good will protect you? I'm afraid you're mistaken. There are forces out there that care little for your sentimental attachment. The offer still stands, you know. You're talking about money and profits, but we're talking about lives, families." Jake's voice erupted as he stepped even closer. "You think you know what families want?" Tony shot back, his expression hardening. "You don't. You lost that right the moment you sold this land. They want progress, results. Your friends? They'll abandon you once reality hits." Mary felt her heart constrict. Could Tony speak the truth? Would the community really turn their backs when it mattered most? Her breath caught, fear clawing at her throat, but she kept her chin up. "You don't know them. They care about each other, not just about the land." Tony leaned in, his tone almost conspiratorial. "Just remember, if things turn bad, and trust me, they will, I'm here to provide options, enough to set you free from this nonsense." The air felt thick with tensions, a strangled silence suffocating the words she wished to say. But instead of responding with fear, Mary found her voice. "I refuse to live in fear of you. We're here to stay, and we will face whatever comes, together." With that proclamation hanging in the air, a flicker of resolve ignited within the crowd behind them. They began to gather closer, solidarity shining in their expressions. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was about an entire community claiming their future. Tony took a step back, scanning the gathering with disbelief. "You'll regret this," he remarked finally before turning to leave, but Mary could sense a crack in his facade. Once again, the atmosphere shifted. The storm was not just outside, it was within. She felt shadows lift as the community rallied around her and Jake, buoyed by their strength. "Let's finish what we started," Mary shouted. "Let's prove that home is more than walls. It's love, commitment, and togetherness. If we stick together, we'll weather any storm." Cheers erupted, voices ringing out with renewed conviction, cutting through the clouds of doubt. And as thunder grumbled far off, this time more distant, it reminded her that storms would always come. They would live with those fears, but together they could face anything. Today marked a turning point, a solidifying of their resolve. "Let's get back to work," Jake yelled, confidence flooding his tone. Together, they seized the opportunity to reclaim their past, forging pathways into the future, a future laden with hope. And in that moment, Mary realized rising from the ashes of uncertainty required faith, not just in themselves, but in each other. With courage and unity, they could create a faith that would withstand whatever challenge lay in their path. This was the heartbeat of their community, and together they would write the next chapter of their story. So, here's where you come in. If you are as inspired as Mary and Jake's journey, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Hit that bell and select all notifications to keep up with this incredible transformation. Leave a like now to help us feed the algorithm and keep the movement alive. Don't hesitate to comment with your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Let us know how this story has touched you. And finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of community and resilience. Don't wait, not even one more second, to spread this message of hope. Only true fans understand how essential this support is for the channel to flourish.